Remember when there were hypersexual fish that could fly? Let's go back.
Tamagotchi,
Of Y2K.
The year is 1994 and one of the greatest films of all time is released. No, I'm not talking about D2 The Mighty Ducks. I'm talking about the Italian masterpiece known as Plankton, but also known as The Creatures from the Abyss. A surefire way to figure out if a film's gonna be good or not is if it has two titles. Who am I kidding? We're about to watch some trash cinema. This Italian horror film is from director Alvaro Passeri, who brought us other classics like Flight to Hell and The Mummy Theme Park. I considered giving you all a quick synopsis of the plot before jumping into it, but if you haven't had the opportunity to see Plankton yet, then I think leaving it as a surprise will be a much more rewarding experience. All I'll say is that Plankton has all the elements of a film written by a group of pubescent boys on acid. With that being said, let's get into this Italian B-horror schlock known as Plankton, aka Creatures from the Abyss, aka A Salmon's Wet Dream.
Don't leave me alone out here all night, I'm afraid!
The movie starts with 5 teens messing around on a beach and carrying an inflatable boat. However, these 5 actors are as much teens as the ones that were on Beverly Hills 90210. They leave on the boat and then we see a title card indicating we're in Miami, which seems pointless as their location has no impact on the overall story. Although when I think of horny killer fish, I do think of Florida for some reason. The teens say they ran out of gas and I assume they're stranded in the water, but it's so damn dark that I can't really tell what's happening. I guess lighting wasn't in the budget. We then see a Sam Raimi style shot that was borrowed from Evil Dead. This is where it starts to feel a bit like a fever dream. There are many cuts between the teens on the boat and random shots of fish, a laboratory, and what looks to be like cells mutating. For the sake of this video, I'm going to remove these shots and just keep with the story. I don't want to induce any seizures in anyone watching this. The boat they're on is taking on water, so they try to bail it out. Then we get our first bit of dialogue.
What if there's a storm, Dorothy? Storms don't happen during the summer.
That's actually a scientific fact. Storms don't happen during the summer. Anyway, the teens get caught up in a storm. One of their paddles hits something and it turns out to be a dead body. The one girl starts to freak out and her friend jumps at the opportunity. This goes on for a bit, so let's speed things up. They see a yacht in the distance and then climb on board. They don't see anyone on board, so they make their way into the yacht. Inside is a science laboratory with many different fish in glass containers, but uh-oh, something seems to be watching them. Now before we go any further, let's meet our 5 unsuspecting teens. This is Mike. He's sort of the nerd of the group, and you can tell this because he's the only one wearing glasses. This is Margaret. She's engaged to Mike. Her only character trait is that she's a bit smarter than the other 2 girls. Speaking of which, the other 2 girls are Julie and Dorothy, although in my notes I just kept referring to this one as Kate Upton. They're sisters, and their character traits are that they can fit nicely into a bikini. Finally, there's Bobby, who you'll soon come to hate. He's annoying, he's horny 24/7, he eats like a pig, and he has a unibrow. He has all the personality of a guy who peaked in high school. They don't really lay out who these characters are until later on in the film, so I figured I'd do us a favor and get that out of the way early. Let's go back to the creepy yacht lab. They continue to inspect the lab and Eyebrow decides to scare Kate Upton. Then for some reason he thinks it's a good idea to put something he just found in a lab in his mouth.
I'm not a smart man.
All while this is happening, we continue to get shots from the perspective of whatever is watching them. After finding out there's no one in the pilot house and the radios aren't working, they explore further into the yacht, where they discover this room that looks like Scarface on a budget.
Look, aquatic bonsai. Whoa, terrific.
I'd be willing to bet this is actually a porn set they rented out for the shoot. They find the bedrooms empty, the kitchen empty, and Bobby decides to pull another scare prank on everyone.
Why don't you quit it, huh? Can't believe you people have no sense of humor.
They find clothes to change into, which the guys do. Bobby is seen wearing the tiniest tighty-whities ever. Despite there being a change of clothes, the girls decided to stay in their wet bikinis, but not before taking their bikini tops off for no apparent reason.
I think it's time to buy a new bra.
It wouldn't be a B-horror film without some gratuitous nudity. Then Julie wonders if the body they came across was from the ship. Damn, this girl should be a detective. Margaret follows this up with an incredible observation of her own.
He could have been the owner of these shoes.
Mike and Margaret return to the lab, but they're in good hands because Mike took biology in school. That makes him qualified to study this kind of research, obviously. You know, I took gym in high school and I'm still waiting for my call from the NFL. Back inside, Bobby starts pouring everyone drinks, and the sisters found their bikini tops again. Bobby seems to think this is actually a drug ship, despite all the lab equipment saying otherwise.
Yeah, but what do you know about computers?
I'll have you know Mike studied biology in school. Plus, I'm pretty sure he's the only one on this ship capable of turning on a computer, let alone operating it. Bobby doesn't care about all this nerd talk, so he puts on music and shows off his incredible moves. I describe this scene as a date rape ad. The girls go into the kitchen to cook up some dinner. Look at this, they cook one fish and don't do anything to prep it, just put the whole fish in the frying pan. By some miracle though, that one fish provides 5 plates worth of fish, even though this one seemingly has the entire fish they cooked on the plate. Bobby starts eating like a pig, but his friends seem to think it's the funniest thing they've ever witnessed. Then he makes this joke.
You know what the difference is between a blowjob and a ham sandwich?
Okay, what?
Let's have dinner tonight, I'll show you.
Oh.
Bobby now seems to think the yacht is theirs. He says now that they have a yacht, he's gonna invite all his friends over and have an orgy. I've never had orgy friends before. You know, just some people I can call up and put together an orgy. I have so many questions, like what kind of food do they serve at an orgy? Cocktail weenies? Or would that be offensive to some people attending? Anyway, let's get back to the movie and we'll work out the details later. Suddenly there's a loud thud. Bobby and Mike decide to take a look, but Bobby insists he'll go below the deck on his own. Genius. While down there we hear another thud. Mike lights a candle and decides to go down after him. We can hear Bobby moaning, which is really off-putting. Then a skeleton falls on Mike. But it was just Bobby being an asshole again. I think we've had enough false scares from Bobby that we can just throw him overboard by now. They find what they think are drugs, and Bobby's an expert on drugs.
If you really want to know, yes, I've tried everything in my life.
Mike's response to this is so weird.
I think you're nuts. I don't need that to make love.
What? Is that how the director thinks humans interact with one another? Anyway, while they're discussing the benefits of sex on drugs, Mike finds some weird sketches and nothing else. Unless you count this dude who's under the stairs.
I think he's alive, look.
Pretty bold assumption. Bobby and Mike carry the man upstairs while commenting on how much he smells like piss. Turns out he's one of the scientists on the ship. The scientist bites Margaret, but they all seem pretty cool with it. They think he just needs some rest and they can go to sleep now. Yep, he looks like someone who just needs to sleep it off. The sisters are in their room sleeping, but bottom bunk sister wakes up. Listen, I already forgot her name and I can't be bothered to look it up again. She thinks the fish was bad and she runs into the bathroom and throws it up all over the floor. I'm gonna save you the visuals on this one and just tell you that there's beetles in her vomit and they begin to move around the floor. She screams, waking everyone up.
Hey, another of your fucking jokes. No, you're crazy. I was whacking off.
The sister tells them what happened and Bobby knows exactly what the issue is here.
Just me.
PMS.
Mike and Bobby go check out the bathroom but find no bugs in her vomit. It's like that old saying, if you don't find beetles, it must be PMS. By the way, while they're in there, we get our first glimpse of Susie the robot shower. The shower robot is just another example of unnecessary plot devices, and as we see later, seemingly only there to add more nudity to the film. The guys return to check on sister number 2 and she now has super strength and starts choking Mike. Everything's becoming too much for her and she wants off the yacht. But when they go to check on the lifeboat, they find another body and an axe in the side of that lifeboat. Then we get what I nominate as the best piece of acting in Plankton.
We won't get out of here alive! We won't get out of here alive!
After putting sister number 2 back to bed, Mike and Margaret return to the lab. Mike says the crew found a species of fish that they thought to be extinct, one of which is a carnivorous fish that lives on plankton and can live out of water. However, what he didn't know was that these fish can apparently fly, which Margaret finds out pretty quickly. And y'all were complaining about the CGI in She-Hulk. Kate Upton and Bobby come upstairs to see what all the commotion is. The two girls leave Bobby and Mike to deal with the mess.
You still don't get it, do you?
I mean, does anyone at this point? The next scene is probably my favorite of the film. Mike picks up a bone and Bobby gets hit in the face by a flying fish. Mike starts swinging at the fish and smashing all the lab equipment. This goes on for a really long time actually. They had to stretch a lot of scenes in this to reach that 90-minute mark, which they still don't reach in the end. Mike checks on Margaret before heading to bed himself with those weird sketches he found of the fish. Strange choice of jerk-off material, but I'm not judging. Then he starts reading about the fish having exceptionally developed genitals. Then he discovers a plot twist that would make M. Night Shyamalan jealous. He confronts the scientist about what he found out, and this culminates in possibly the best line of dialogue I've ever witnessed.
How long have you been fucking fish?
They were old enough.
You know what, now that I think about it, Kanye West would probably love this film. Kate Upton wakes up and goes to Bobby's room for sex. At a time like this? Bobby is seen laying in bed smoking a cigarette all cool and suave-like. She starts stroking the light and turns it on, which reminds me of this. Wow, Plankton was way ahead of its time. So Kate Upton takes off her top and they start to get it on like Donkey Kong, which I can't show on YouTube without being demonetized. Mike is back on the computer and reads that the fish, and I quote, becomes sexually aggressive when erotically stimulated by inquisitive minds. It flows off the tongue like a Shakespearean story. Meanwhile, during this scene, we keep getting cuts back and forth from the lab and to Bobby and Kate Upton having sex. Mike says that the fish ate radioactive plankton and that's why they're acting this way. Of course, I saw it coming all along. Remember that bag of drugs Bobby found earlier in the lower deck of the ship? Well, it turns out it wasn't drugs at all, it was the radioactive plankton. It can make you lose your mind to sexual obsession. Even touching the stuff can be fatal. Uh-oh, Bobby, looks like your dick can't get you out of this hot mess. There's more about developing cancer cells and human cells and developing at incredible speeds. It's honestly just overcomplicated. Radioactive sexual fish are on the loose on a yacht. That's all I need to know. We're not watching this movie and wondering if they got the science right. Now their friend is in danger, so instead of running off and telling him about the plankton, we get this moment between Mike and Margaret.
A wedding dress. For what?
To get married, right? I'm a month pregnant.
Baby, that's great! That's great!
Mike, I'm so glad you said that.
What? Why are you telling me all of this right now? There are bigger fish to fry. Huh? See what I did there? This next part I'm gonna have to be careful about how much I show. Bobby and Kate Upton are still having sex, but Bobby starts going through a transformation. He's turning into a horny fish. His eye falls out and into her mouth and he begins to grow tentacles out of his back and we see his fish face. Mike busts in with a harpoon, but Bobby's gone. Blood leading to the closet reveals he broke through the back. Kate Upton wakes up and says she doesn't remember having sex with Bobby. Poor Bobby, that must be quite the blow to his ego. Now we have a tense moment as Mike tries to find Bobby. Quick, cut away to a shot of a stuffed bear. Perfect. There's something moving under the door. Mike opens it to reveal Bobby. He's back to his normal self. Did this film just become John Carpenter's The Thing? Mike is in the bar and pouring drinks for the two girls when Kate Upton says she has a pain in her gut.
Do you have your period? No.
In the world this film creates, any issue a woman has, the first logical conclusion is she's on her period apparently. Margaret heads into the bathroom to freshen up, but the sink won't work. Are you ready for the robot shower payoff I'm sure many of you have been waiting for? The shower turns on by itself and Margaret walks over to it when it stops. The shower begins repeating the phrase, "Now use your fingers," just in case this movie wasn't horny enough for you. When Margaret returns to the sink, tentacles come flying out and wrap around her neck, pulling her into the sink. Mike falls out of bed and then comes in to save his pregnant fiancée. At this point in the film I realize that no one has actually died yet, which is kinda strange for this type of film. Alright, time for things to get weirder. Mike says they need to get life jackets and get the hell off this boat. You might even say he's had it with these motherfucking fish on this motherfucking boat. He races to wake up Dorothy. That's her name, I remember now. Dorothy stands up and attacks Mike because she's also part fish now too. He asks for help, but the girls just sort of stand there screaming the whole time. God, is everyone useless in this film? We get some hilarious close-ups of Dorothy's face while she's transforming into a fish. She fights it off, but then her own crab hands begin to attack her and flying fish come out of her mouth. This is what happens when you don't properly cook a fish. They get the hell out of there as Kate Upton cries for her sister, and just when you think we're nearing the end of the weird, he keeps coming on like a Kevin James comedy. Who had giving birth to fish eggs on their bingo card? Mike says he needs to destroy the monsters before they can leave, for no reason apparently. I'd be gone. I don't care if I can swim or not. Once dirt and eggs start coming out of people's holes, I'd rather drown. Mike starts poking holes in gasoline canisters. He leaves a candle burning to blow up the entire yacht, and then it happens. We get our first glimpse of Bobby's new facelift. Based on all the graphics I've seen in this movie so far, this was slightly impressive, but only slightly. Mike returns to save Margaret. Kate Upton's on her own now that she's become a horny fish incubation chamber. But oh no, it must be contagious because now Margaret's turning. The two of them stare at each other for quite a while before she shoots herself in the head with a harpoon. Mike takes some time to grieve his dead fiancée before jumping from the boat as it explodes.
This is the last fucking cruise I'll ever take!
Nice one-liner, Arnold. But it was a yacht, not a cruise ship. Anyway, just as he thinks he got away, we get another Evil Dead shot coming at Mike and he's seemingly killed. Roll credits. I don't know about you, but I need a cigarette after this one. This movie wasn't well directed, it wasn't well written, and it wasn't well acted, but that's kind of what makes it fun to watch. I enjoy my time watching this, unlike Theodore Rex. It's weird in that it follows sort of a slasher formula, but no one dies until like the last 10 minutes. I would recommend watching this movie with a group of people. I can only imagine it would be a much more fun viewing experience. I'm someone who doesn't like seafood, but from now on, if anyone asks me why I don't like seafood, I'll just refer them to this film. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. For all of you who like this video, may your lamps be phallic and your fish horny. Happy Halloween, everyone.